30% of adults experience insomnia symptoms and 10% have chronic insomnia severe enough to affect their daily functioning. Most of them are either taking sleeping pills that do not fix the underlying problem or lying awake night after night with no idea what to do. Today, I am giving you the treatment that sleep researchers call the most effective long-term insomnia intervention ever studied. It is not a pill, it is not a supplement, and it works better than any medication currently available. Welcome to Rich Mind Daily. This is part 3 and the final part of our sleep series. In part 1 we covered what sleep deprivation does to your brain and body. In part 2 we built the complete 2-hour bedtime routine. Today we are tackling the hardest sleep problem of all. Insomnia. We are breaking down why it happens, why most treatments fail, and the one science-backed method that fixes it permanently for the majority of people who use it correctly. Let us get into it. Why insomnia is not a sleep problem. It is a brain training problem. Most people think of insomnia as their brain simply refusing to sleep. The reality is more specific and more fixable than that. Chronic insomnia is primarily a conditioned response. Over time, the brain learns to associate the bed, the bedroom, and the act of trying to sleep with alertness, frustration, and anxiety. This association becomes self-reinforcing. The more nights you lie awake feeling anxious about not sleeping, the stronger the association between bed and wakefulness becomes. Researchers at Oxford University describe this as hyperarousal, a state where the brain's alerting system remains chronically overactivated during the sleep period. This is why sleeping pills only treat the symptom and not the cause. They force unconsciousness without addressing the conditioned arousal that drives the insomnia. The moment you stop taking them, the insomnia returns, because the underlying brain pattern was never changed. CBT-I, the treatment that outperforms every sleeping pill ever tested. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, known as CBT-I, is the gold standard treatment recommended by the American College of Physicians, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, and the National Health Service in the United Kingdom. A meta-analysis published in the journal Sleep covering 87 clinical trials found that CBT-I produced significantly better long-term outcomes than sleeping medication in every category measured. Faster sleep onset, fewer nighttime awakenings, better sleep quality, and crucially, results that lasted after treatment ended. The core components of CBT-I are sleep restriction, stimulus control, cognitive restructuring, and relaxation training. You do not need a therapist to begin. The principles are straightforward, and the research on self-directed CBT-I shows outcomes almost identical to therapist-guided treatment for most people with moderate insomnia. Sleep restriction, the counterintuitive technique that resets your sleep drive. The most powerful and most counterintuitive component of CBT-I is sleep restriction. The principle is simple. You temporarily limit your time in bed to the actual amount of sleep you are currently getting, regardless of how little that is. If you are sleeping 5 hours, but spending 8 hours in bed, you restrict your time in bed to 5.5 hours. This sounds brutal, but the effect is immediate and measurable. By consolidating your sleep into a shorter window, you rapidly build what researchers call sleep pressure, the biological drive for sleep that accumulates the longer you stay awake. Within 3 to 5 days of sleep restriction, most people experience dramatically improved sleep quality, faster sleep onset, and fewer nighttime awakenings. You then gradually extend your time in bed by 15 to 30 minutes per week as your sleep efficiency improves. The process typically takes 4 to 6 weeks to complete and produces lasting results in approximately 80% of people who follow it correctly. Stimulus control, retraining your brain to associate bed with sleep. Stimulus control addresses the conditioned arousal at the root of chronic insomnia. The rules are strict, but the logic is clear. Use your bed only for sleep. If you are not asleep within 20 minutes, get out of bed. Go to another room, sit in dim light, do something quiet and unstimulating, and return to bed only when you feel genuinely sleepy. Repeat this process as many times as necessary throughout the night. This technique reduces the association between the bed and wakefulness. Within 2 to 3 weeks of consistent application, the brain begins to relearn that the bed is a sleep trigger rather than an anxiety trigger. Dr. Richard Bootson, of the University of Arizona, who developed stimulus control therapy in the 1970s, found in multiple studies that this single component alone was sufficient to resolve chronic insomnia in a significant percentage of patients. Combined with sleep restriction, it becomes even more powerful. Cognitive restructuring. changing the thoughts that keep you awake. The final piece of the insomnia puzzle is the thought patterns that activate and maintain the hyperarousal state. People with chronic insomnia typically develop catastrophic thinking about sleep. Thoughts like, if I do not sleep tonight, tomorrow will be ruined, or I have not slept properly in weeks and my health is being destroyed. These thoughts are not simply unpleasant. They trigger the stress response, raise cortisol and adrenaline, and make sleep physiologically impossible regardless of how tired you are. Cognitive restructuring teaches you to identify these thoughts, examine the evidence behind them, and replace them with more accurate and less activating alternatives. Research shows that a single night of poor sleep has far less impact on next-day functioning than most insomniacs believe. Recognizing this reduces the anxiety around sleep, which reduces the hyperarousal, which allows sleep to return more naturally. Combined with sleep restriction and stimulus control, cognitive restructuring completes the three-part system that makes CBT-I the most effective insomnia treatment ever studied. Insomnia is not permanent and it is not untreatable. It is a learned brain pattern, and learned patterns can be unlearned. Use sleep restriction to rebuild your sleep drive. Use stimulus control to retrain your brain's association with the bed. Use cognitive restructuring to defuse the catastrophic thoughts that activate your stress response at night. If this three-part sleep series helped you, hit the like button right now and share it with someone you know who struggles with sleep. Subscribe to Rich Mind Daily for weekly videos on finance, health, and smart money decisions. Drop a comment below. Have you ever tried any of these techniques? Tell me what worked and what did not. I read every single comment. See you in the next one.